Welcome to Profiles in Purpose. This is Dan Kostka, your host, and today I'm speaking with Twila Tayfel. I've invited Twila to speak with me today because she's very involved with Girl Guides. It's something that I know is very close to her heart. Thank you for joining me today, Twila.
Thank you for the invite to speak with you, Dan.
Could you please start by telling me how long you've been involved with Girl Guides?
Well, I first started in Girl Guides way back, I think it was in 1984 when I would have been 6 years old. My parents decided to put me in brownies because they thought it'd be a fun activity. So I was a brownie and then I went to guides, pathfinders, and rangers. So I finished out the program. I was 18. So as a girl member, that would be about 12 years. And it took a break, and then about 20 years ago, I joined as an adult member. So I've been leading Pathfinders for about 20 years. And then about 10 years ago, I added a guide leader to my repertoire of leading. So altogether, I've been with the organization for almost 40 years.
Wonderful. Now that's extensive history. Can we go back to when you first joined? You said the first stage was brownies. Do you remember, were you a little bit shy about the prospect of joining? Do you remember your first feelings? Was it very exciting?
I think I was excited because I had heard other girls at school talk about it. And that's how my mom actually heard about it through school and talking with some of the parents at school. And they thought, oh, your daughter might like this program. And so I was excited to join. And I fell in love with it in my first meeting because of how much I had in common with the girls that were there. And I just felt so welcomed and empowered that, hey, this is great for girls. We get to try all these new things. So I just had a blast my first meeting.
There might be people out there, of course, who maybe they don't even have kids, or maybe their kids are very small and haven't joined any programs yet. So maybe we should start by talking just in general, in very simple terms. What are we talking about when you name all these different types of programs? What's the general concept?
So, Girl Guides of Canada is a program that started in Canada in 1910, but the first branch of it started actually in England in 1909. So, the program's been around for over 100 years. And it's a program that aims to build leadership skills, confidence, practical skills, outdoor skills, and all sorts of other skills and abilities that girls need in our modern world. And it starts off that we have programs for girls as young as 5 year olds, all the way up to 18-year-olds for youth members. And then adults can be unit guiders, so they can be the leaders. Or we even have branches for 18 to 30-year-olds. So they do things specifically for adults in that age group. And then we have something called Trefoil Guild, which is for our members who are 30 years and older, but don't necessarily want to work with directly for girls. So really, we have any person who identifies as a female that wants to join, they can join as young as 5 year old. And we even have members that are in their 90s that are still active in our Trefoil Guilds.
Now you're here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, which is also my home base. Girl Guides is in how many different countries, do you know?
Over 140. So as there's a World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts that it's in at least 140 countries.
Wow, and why do you think it spread so far? Why does it appeal to so many people in so many different cultures?
I think because it's a program that is adapted for the culture that you're in. So if I go visit another country and I go join Girl Guides, I can find a lot of things that are in common, but some things that are specific to that culture. But I think the universality of it is that it's a program for girls and it helps girls become on their way to becoming better citizens, and lots of different skills that they learn are things that will need all over the world. So it's a program that is really, we call it universal, but we adapt it to the modern culture. And then you just feel like you're part of a sisterhood, that every girl and adult who joins becomes a member of a worldwide organization. And there's well over 1 million women around the world who are part of this organization.
Wow. And on a practical level, how does it work? Is it a combination of fundraising and members pay also a fee to join?
Yes. So when members join, you pay a one-time membership fee, and then some units collect what we call dues. So they pay maybe $1 or $2 a week. That helps to supplement extra activities or badges that they might earn. And then throughout the year, we sell Girl Guide cookies. So we sell mint cookies in the fall and we sell chocolate and vanilla sandwich cookies in the spring. And that's our main source of revenue. As in some provinces, registration goes to units, but here in Alberta, we do not see any of the registration fees. So our funding comes mostly from selling cookies. And then some units, if they're planning any big trips, they might sell things like flowers or provide some services like the highway cleanup. But basically, our funding is one-time registration and then cookies throughout the year.
Are there like paid employees at the national level and then mostly volunteers running it, or how does that
Yes.
work in that
So
sense?
at the national level, we have a board of directors that is volunteer run, but we also have paid staff who look after administrative things
Mm.
such as finding unit spaces, taking care of the registrations, making sure that our contracts with Dare for cookies are up to date. And then we have people who work in the banking side of it, so they work in the financial part. So we do have a little bit of paid staff, but
Hmm.
the majority of people are volunteers. And the bulk of our volunteers are unit guiders. So those are the women who are working on the week to week basis with the girls.
And does most of the funds then raised either through fees and through fundraising goes towards most of it goes towards the activities that the girls are doing?
Yes, absolutely. It
Hmm.
goes to our day-to-day weekly meetings. It might go to some camps that they go to or any field trips. So,
Hmm.
for example, my unit, my guides are going to what used to be called Fort Calgary, but now called the Confluence. We're going to go to a program there and we're able to subsidize the cost through selling of cookies so parents do not have to pay an additional fee.
Hmm. I'd love to learn more about what these kinds of programs meant for you. Do you remember some of the activities that stand out in your mind?
Oh.
Like, what are some activities that stand out in your memory that you got to experience as a child because you were in these programs?
Well, biggest thing was probably just learning about friendships and how to navigate friendships and meet
Hmm.
girls that were different school from me, different ages. A lot of the things, learning some games on friendships. And then on the practical level, I remember doing a whole bunch of fun cooking things. So getting to cook over the campfire is always a highlight. Roasting marshmallows and got to sing along campfire. So for me, I think camps were one of the favorite things, getting to be outdoors, learning about nature. And then on the day to day, so our weekly meetings, some of the activities that I really enjoyed were doing some of our, again, nature crafts, cooking. I remember one meeting we had a meteorologist come visit us and talk to us about the weather. We've been to the Rothney Astrophysical Observatory down south of Calgary. I remember doing that
Mm.
and going to the fire station, seeing how the fire hall worked and getting to be inside an ambulance and a fire truck. That was a lot of fun. So learning about our community, going on community scavenger hunts. Those were always a lot of fun as well. So lots of different things. But if I were to sum up two things that I enjoyed the most, probably campfire and anything to do with nature and animals were my
Mm.
highlights.
I'm just basing this on my own experience, but I found when I was a child, I was lucky enough to join Air Cadets in grade 9. And in that case, I was exposed to role models and structure and just experiences that I wouldn't have had otherwise. And it meant a lot to me because I didn't have a lot of structure. And I wonder if exposing young girls to role models that, they may have good role models at home and some may not. Do you see that as a role in terms of just being encouragement for young girls and maybe providing them with some positive reinforcement they might not be getting enough of?
Oh, absolutely. I know that as an experience as an adult member, I definitely have young women that I've influenced as a role model, and they say, "Oh, Girl Guides, I remember you as my leader and how
Mm.
much I looked up to you." And then as a girl, seeing that, oh, all these women, they can do that kind of thing, and having somebody that we could hear from and somebody who was there as a listener who is not necessarily your parents, but also reinforce those same positive values that I had at home was really meaningful for me. And for some of the girls that I went through the program with, their weekly Girl Guide meeting was a safe place for them because they
Mm.
may not have had a lot of stability at home, but guiding was a weekly escape for them and somewhere where they could be themselves and get positive reinforcement and learn some skills. So I think for sure that the women who volunteer with this organization do look at themselves as ladies who can influence girls towards their future and be positive role models. In fact, that's why some women stay in the program long after their daughters are done because they see the positive impact that being a role model has had. And they're like, I want to keep influencing girls to be the best they can and to show them that girls are valued and that this is a place to learn all those skills and to be yourself and form part of your identity. So I think Girl Guides for me has definitely been somewhere where I have picked up some things from role models and have learned how to be a role model as well. And even as an adult, there's still things I'm learning from the women I guide with, as well as the girls that I interact with.
Do you think your childhood experiences with these programs might have influenced your decision to later become a teacher?
I think part of it, absolutely. Like I've probably had wanted to be a teacher for a long time, but I think for sure being part of that as Girl Guides definitely influenced some of my decision to work with youth in another way because in the classroom, of course, it's formal education, but Girl Guides is what I would call informal education. We're more facilitators and guides rather than teachers, but they definitely do have a lot of similarities with influencing young people and helping to encourage them to do their best. So I think
Mm.
definitely it did influence my decision in some ways, or maybe reinforced my decision that being a teacher was a good career path for me.
Hmm. And what ages do you teach now?
So I work at a school that is from kindergarten to grade 8. So I work with students who fall into all of those age ranges, but
Hmm.
the bulk of my students that I work with as a learning support teacher are in the grades 3 to 6 range. Those are where the bulk of my students are. So 8-year-olds to 12-year-olds.
You said earlier, what age do the girls start at for Girl Guides?
So Girl Guides, they can start in kindergarten. So when they're
Hmm.
5.
Hmm.
And then our oldest youth members are 18. So basically, we have programs for kindergarten to grade 1 all the way up to grade 12.
How do the activities and the needs of the children evolve as they go through the program? In other words, I'm sure the types of activities and the what you see in terms of the benefit being offered to them maybe evolves somewhat as the ages go on.
Yeah, absolutely. So when they're first starting out, it's usually 1 hour a week meeting, and they'll do very basic things. They'll learn some songs, do some crafts, maybe do a little bit of programming to learn about their community, some basic outdoor skills, things like that. And then as they get older, their meetings get longer, and then we also start to do weekend activities. So for example, once they start to get to about 8 or 9, they may start to do a sleepover or a one night camp away from meetings, and meetings will start to be about an hour and a half. And then
Mm.
when you get to guides, my guides are about an hour, 45 minutes. Pathfinders are about 2 hours, 2.5 hours a week. And the complexity of the activities. So you might see at our Sparks meeting, might see they'll do a little opening, might have a little craft, some songs, and they'll finish up with their closing routine. Whereas at my Pathfinder meeting, you might see us do a little debrief. They talk about what their weekend, anything new in their lives. We'll do some programming that might involve a game or a craft, even just having a guest speaker come in. And we'll do maybe a few of those throughout. Sometimes it's a cooking meeting, but generally we have the same themes and modules that they work on from the time they're 5 to the time they're 18, but how you earn those badges and the complexity of the activities is really what changes throughout
Mm.
the time as they get older.
Do you see these programs as largely reinforcing things that they're already learning in school, or is there the opportunity to get into things where they're, for some reason, that school doesn't offer?
A little bit of both. There are
Mm.
definitely some overlaps that I see when I look at our where we get our Girl Guide program. I'm like, oh, that's something that I've done at school. So
Mm.
some similarities there, but then there's definitely opportunities to go deeper into topics that you
Mm.
might touch on at school, but you may not get the breadth of them. Whereas at Girl Guides, we can explore those things. And then, of course, we do some things that you don't get a chance to do at school at all. So
Mm.
they're in a little bit of both. So we reinforce some things and then we introduce things. And of course, we can go on weekend camps and hikes and things like that that you don't do at school. So really, it supplements school in a way, but is very different from school in a way too.
It must be very fun and rewarding when you know that some of these girls are experiencing something for the first time, and it's because you are helping, provide this opportunity. What are some of your favorite things to expose girls to?
Ooh, well, some of my favorites is actually teaching them new ways to do some cooking. Like some of them might help in their kitchen, but first time, like introducing them to, oh, we get to use a knife
Mm.
and we get to cook. So they try the new cooking things. Some of those have been, like, I just remember a few years ago having one girl, I get to actually use a knife here. I can cut this for cooking. So
Mm.
that was kind of a limo that they got to try that. And some of them, when we take them for nature walks, because they may not have outdoorsy parents, so they spend a lot of time indoors. So taking them outside to see, wow, I've never seen that before outside, and just exposing them to things like that. Or what I also like is maybe trying a new craft that, oh, I don't get to play with clay at home, or my parents don't let us paint because it's too messy, so they get to paint at Girl Guides.
Mm.
Or, oh, this is not like school at all. This one's actually kind of fun. We get to play games. So teaching them maybe some new games that they could also teach their friends at school at recess. Those are
Mm.
kind of fun as well. And me, it's also kind of a escape for me from my day to day. Oh, I get to go to Girl Guides tonight and we're going to do this. I have a lot of fun myself. I'm going to say one of our founders, Lady Baden Powell, said, if it isn't fun, it isn't guiding. And I think
Mm.
that's kind of a motto that if the leaders aren't going to have fun, then that's going to translate to the girls and they're not going to enjoy it. So I think us as leaders have to model that if we're enjoying this and we're doing things that we enjoy, the girls, that's going to filter down to the girls and vice versa. That if the girls tell us, oh, we'd like to try this, and us leaders can get excited about it, then we're going to have a fun evening and girls are going to want to come back and be in our units.
Hmm. And as you said, there's paid staff at the organizational, like national level, but then at the community level, it sounds like it's entirely volunteer based. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes,
Yeah.
we are volunteers. Although there are still people that have the misconception out there that all Girl Guides are paid, but we are not paid for what we do, a salary. We are paid by smiles and thank yous and
Hmm.
wow, I had so much fun. So we are volunteer at Rashoot's, completely volunteer.
And so volunteers are obviously very important for you. And I'm sure that some people, manage to fit in a few weeks or a few months of volunteering. But for you, you've put so much time into it that must resonate with you in a way that even more so than for some others. Like, what do you think it is? Like, why have you stuck with it for so long?
I think it's because I just enjoy being with the girls and getting new youth coming up to the program that I can expose them to new things. And
Mm.
I keep learning as well. And I enjoy going to camp and spending time outdoors. I love the environment that I work with and the volunteers that I get to work with. I think that's one of the big reasons too is that I've stuck with it is the women I've met that are so stuck with the program that we formed such a great friendship that it'd be very difficult to leave the organization and leave some of my friends that I've had the opportunity to spend time with over the last 20 years as an adult volunteer. And there's still girls that I met when I was in Pathfinders that I still keep in touch with. We don't see each other often, but we're Facebook friends and we chat every now and then. So I think the long-lasting friendships has kept me in it and just getting to share my knowledge and experiences with new girls over the years. That's my big reason for joining and staying with it as an adult.
And what do you hope that the girls that you've worked with, what do you hope that they would say about you?
I would hope that they'd say she cared about them, that she was always there to listen, that she taught us new ways of thinking, new ways of doing things, and that she was just encouraging and supporting us to always do our best.
And if someone wanted to help out, what types of volunteer roles are most often in demand?
The biggest one is definitely our unit guiders.
Hmm.
Now, if a woman does not have the time to commit weekly, they have the opportunity to be what we call a non-member volunteer. So that means they go through the police checks and the interview, but they only volunteer when their time allows, and they don't have all the same privileges as a member, but it is quite flexible that they can come and volunteer when they want to. Now, if a woman wants to become a member, but doesn't have the time to commit to weekly meetings, they can still become a member and join either Link, depending if they're under 30, or if they're a woman over 30, they can join a trefoil guild and help out. A lot of our trefoil guilds help out at area program events. So if the whole city of Calgary puts on an event, we always need volunteers to help out with those. Lots of opportunities to volunteer, and some of them are very short term. Remember, you help out when you can, and others are weekly. So you come to meetings weekly.
Are there some roles where the father in the family might be allowed to volunteer, or is it strictly women then?
Fathers can volunteer in things where they're not directly involved with the girls every day. Like we have
Hmm.
some fathers who are treasurers of units, so they are looking after the financial things.
Hmm.
We have a lot of fathers that come and help with door-to-door cookie selling, just walking around in the neighborhood with us. And sometimes we have fathers who are the drivers, so they volunteer to carpool and things like that. We can also have fathers come in for a meeting and maybe they have a skill to share. Like we have one mechanic father who's
Hmm.
going to come and teach our Pathfinders how to do basic mechanical skills for cars so they can help out in many different ways. They
Hmm.
just can't become full members, but we do have opportunities for dads in lives of the girls to be involved in some way.
For those who have sons as well as daughters, is there a male like equivalent?
Yes, so we do have Scouts Canada. So Scouts, I can't remember how many years ago it is, but it's been a long time now that they're co-ed, but there still is a majority members are boys that are in Scouts Canada. So there's that. And of course, we have cadets in Canada as well. You mentioned cadets
Yes.
earlier, and my nephew actually did both Scouts and cadets. So boys can join those and girls can join Girl Guides as well. And they are also open if the Girl Guide program isn't quite enough. They are welcome to also join Scouts Canada as well as cadets. So of course, I'm encouraging them to join Girl Guides,
Hmm.
but sometimes realize that it may not be for every girl, but we do want to see them in something. So Scouts Canada or cadets are two other programs that are very valuable in our communities as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. As I mentioned, yeah, I was in cadets and it's for boys or girls. And it just like Girl Guides would do for girls, it opened the door to opportunities I wouldn't have had otherwise. Well, thank you, Twyla. Is there anything else that I haven't asked you about that you'd want people to know about Girl Guides or about
Yeah.
yourself?
I'll just do a for the website. If anybody wants to find out any more, they can visit www.girlguides.ca. And I believe Scouts is the scouts.ca or Scouts Canada. You can also Google that. And there's can Google Girl Guides as well and get some unofficial information, but there's lots out there. And pretty soon we'll be having a program called Try Now, Join Later, which offers free registration for the last few months of Girl Guides to see if it's something they'd want to join in September. Lots of
Perfect.
opportunities to join the organization.
Absolutely. And of course, Twyla, you were mentioning the Canadian links as you mentioned earlier. Girl Guides is around the world, so you can always just search Girl Guides and your country name, and I'm sure you'll find something nearby.
Absolutely. Yes.
Hmm.
www.wagggs.org would be the website for finding Girl Guides and Girl Scouts in other countries.
Perfect. I'll add that also to the show notes so no one has to write it down. Thank you, Twyla. It's been such a pleasure speaking to you. I can hear the passion in your voice that this is something really important, and I can see how it makes such a big difference for girls in Canada and around the world.
All right. Well, thank you, Dan, for having me on your show and giving me the opportunity to talk about my involvement in Girl Guides.